Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a good idea. What do you think about that?
What's your last name again?
Krumsick. Krumsick, yeah.
Just making sure I have the right.
Dr. Gas, forever as a says Dr. Gas, whether you like it
You know
or
what? Kids come up to me in grocery stores in Huntington Lake and people are like, what's going on? You go to Dr. Chassis yet? Yes, no. They go, well.
Wish my kids would know.
You know what?
couldn't pass it up, I had to get that in there.
Just won't.
I know.
Maybe one day I'll be able to take them up there for a good burger and some ice cream.
So, you see, I think High Point's close, see that?
What is it?
Did they? You guys saw, every time I drove by, there's nobody in there, so I finally saw the lights off today, and I'm like, see, what actually they closed. Was that High Point?
Yeah, so little news.
Is that, I don't think all of them closed, just that one, they're still on. Yeah, the other one's doing pretty good for some reason that, this is that one. We're starting this one, 6:30.
Oh, George, let me get this.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
I call to order the January 20th, 2026 meeting of Lebanon City Council committees. Roll call, Washington, Cornish, Marcinkowski,
Here.
Krumsick,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Elke,
Here.
Bennett,
Here.
Farrow here. Okay. We have audience participation. Have 5 minutes. Go ahead, you're on, John.
Okay, I was talking to the mayor and letting him know that, myself and there's a group of about 6 or 7 men and about 5 or 6 women. We took care of the decorations up at the town square and also the mini park. And, we realized that we're all getting up there in age and anywhere from the upper 70s to the upper 80s. And it's too much. It's too much for us to take care of. So we talked to Cody and he said that he would take over that operation of handling, putting all the decorations for Christmas up on the square and also the mini park. And what we're going to do is transfer all of the decorations that we have that we're presently storing in the carriage house in town to the old firehouse. Up by the main water tower, up on, the main street, that large tank up there. And, what we've done is we've taken pictures of the way we put everything up at the square, so that he'll have something to go by. And this coming Christmas season, I'll go up and help him, showing him where we put everything and explaining the business. Last year, but this past Christmas, we found out that we were trying to light the star on top of the water tower, the old water tower in the square, and also the decorations we had put around the base of it. And we had an electrician come out, and he told us that the wiring and the boxes up there were fused, and that he's surprised that somebody wasn't killed by walking by the water tower. They're in such bad shape. And he gave us an estimate of $3,500 to correct that putting in a breaker box up there as opposed to the fuse box. I highly recommend you put that on your agenda or whatever it is you have to do to try to get that taken care of. It was one of the reasons we couldn't light the star on top of the water tower. I don't know what has to happen for that. The Chamber of Commerce has given us some monies for decorations up there. And Al Gertis was instrumental in helping us initially. Al Gertis, for you that don't know, takes care of the Christmas at the park, at Corner Park. He gave us a lot of decorations and lights and different ideas on how to construct some of the things we did. So I wanted to make sure that it's mentioned that Al was an important member of our team, even though he didn't help because he was too busy out in Hornet Park. The chamber will donate some of the monies we have left. I don't know exactly what that figure is. I'll know more after our chamber meeting that's coming Thursday. Then I'll be able to get back. If you need me next week, I'll have probably more of a monetary figure I can give you at that time. I think that's everything I have, other than thanking all the members of the men that we had at the square and the women that took care of the mini park. I thought it looked terrific. We found out that everyone that we talked to thought that the city took care of all the decorations and the decorations at the mini park. And we thought, well, we need to say something about it. And the reason we're moving everything out of the carriage house is we're gonna be selling those buildings uptown, so. The new owner, whoever that happens to be, is not gonna want all these decorations either. That's everything I have, so.
Thank you, John. We don't comment at this point, but we will talk about it. You know, with that.
Okay.
Since it wasn't on the, a quick explanation. I received an agenda with this on it, this was prior to the meeting, however, the published agenda has to be out 48 hours before the meeting. And we cannot take any action on an item that is not on the agenda, but we can discuss it, and I think we'll discuss it under all the personal things. Just a few minutes, you can hang around for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Anybody else for audience participation? Yeah, older person participation. Just to get my 2 cents in on the declarations, it's great for the city to take it over. The city does have to accept them, so we will have under state law and ordinances. And we would have to vote to accept them. And there is an expense to the city then, because then our crews will be putting them up. So we will have to take an act on it and make sure it's on next week's agenda for that purpose. I doubt there will be an objection unless I hear one tonight. But that's a sensitive topic for some businesses and people.
Doesn't need to be.
Doesn't need to be, but they choose to make it that way.
One other thing I might add, George, is when we take things down, we have the northeast corner of the square in one section. The south. The southeast section and the other section in different areas and all marked, so they'll know what goes where. So it shouldn't be too big of a problem. And it normally took us, with our crew of about 4 people, or 5 at the most for the town square, about 6 to 7 hours to put it all up. And then the mini park was about the same.
Thank you.
So,
So we'll put it on the agenda for next week.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for doing that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been great to see. In fact, this year looked great. I mean, it looked good every year, but it's gotten better every year, just like the park at Warner Park too. So I don't know how else we can thank you guys other than saying thank you. Unless Mike wants to pay for a, thank you dinner. You wanna do that, Mike?
He'll get back to you. Pay for it, Bill.
But,
Yeah, hey, I'm in on that too.
Well, I was thinking about that, but I didn't want to bring that up. But anyway, thank you very much. It really adds to the town, and when people drive through town and they see that, it really looks nice, especially since John Bailey fixed the two buildings up next to the corner there too. And it just really came together, so thank you very much.
Yeah, same thing. You and your whole team, you guys
Yeah.
did a great job. It looks beautiful down there during the winter time, during the Christmas season, so thank you. That's great.
I do recommend you do something with that water tower though.
Yes.
Now, wasn't there something, didn't they go up there and do some work,
We had the electrician,
not the electrician, but I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. But I'm trying to get this thought out. It was the people who actually do like the cell phone tower up there. From what I've heard rumor wise, they had gone up there and possibly might have messed with something up there. I may or may not have been one of the people up there putting those up, but yeah, that's just what I have heard.
the electrician we hired, because we couldn't get it, the line.
Right.
Said he looked at the box down below and said he wouldn't even touch it.
Mhm.
I thought he could just put new fuses in. He said it's past that.
Mhm.
And then he gave us an estimate, like I said, of around $3,500.
Okay.
And he said there's bare wires. He said it's extremely dangerous.
Is that where you guys had it plugged in at?
Well, where we had it plugged in, I mean, that whole ground fault thing just exploded.
Oh,
If you look at it, it's all black.
wow.
So we just, you know,
Is those box publicly accessible or just like,
well, it's on the one leg of the water tower.
yeah, it's pretty accessible.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
They electrified the whole water tower to people.
You'll find it out.
So it has to be fixed.
But I know that at different functions, they use
Mhm.
one on the other side out there, I think might work, but it's really bad.
The operating committee needs to
There's a
get
breaker box there. I don't.
fire
I don't
an
think
electrician out there to
Breaker.
Yeah.
disconnect
Yeah.
everything right now, so that we're safe.
I thought it was the electrician, I think it was up there, because I saw somebody was like messing with the tower, I'm like, what are you doing, what are you doing here? He told me he had, he's, working with John and, like, okay, well, just call him, see if they're coming.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
had
go
told
on.
me that thought that at the leg of the tower where that star was basically plugged in was bad, and that he was replacing that. And he wasn't happy with the way that the box looked, but he said it was functioning and functioning properly at the time. I don't know if there was more that happened after that, but he didn't like the way that it was secured. It was not secured very well at all through the leg. Nothing up there for the tower itself is used. It's not, there's nothing up there that power is going to be used for the water tower, anything like that. It's just for the outlets and, if we have any lighting for the tower and stuff. And the star on top was also here before, so it looked, it's cool when it was up there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it did.
Well, John, I'll get with you this week, and if you can give me some of that information, I'll look into that. It needs to be taken care of for sure.
Thank you. Any other older person? Comments, questions? Moving along. Committees. Finance committee.
All right, we have 3 items I presume Jessica has done most of the work on, so if she wants to take it, I'll let her. But I can talk about the credit card a little bit.
That's okay. So the credit cards first, I believe. Sorry, I'm staring at the agenda. It looks like I'm staring at you, but I was looking at the agenda I have there. So I started working with, Stephanie and I actually started talking today. I also talked to Luke about getting an ordinance from another city, so I can kind of see what kind of information we have to put into that we need to discuss. I think we've all, it seems like we all agree that we're gonna do one card. Stephanie and I have kind of been talking about, kind of operations up here and who can handle, I don't really know who to have handling the purchasing. But one of the things that was brought up is that person probably needs to be somebody that's bonded, that is already bonded, that handles the money and things like that. At one point we mentioned Michelle being the holder of that. As I got to thinking about it, I'm not sure we want the person that has the power to use the card to be the same person that's auditing the transactions and paying it. So I wanted to separate that. So I just kind of basically wanted to give you guys an update, and let you guys know that I am still working on it and trying to figure out the best way to implement this process, because I do not want to get a card to give to each of the supervisors, and I don't want to I want to only have one to kind of have some controlled parameters on it. So just kind of give you an update on where that's at. I kept it on the agenda because my goal is that once we have it, I can send it to the attorney. And my hope is that we'll get an ordinance in front of you, and I didn't want to have that ordinance and not have it on the agenda. So you guys will have that floating on there for a minute. The next one is the fee schedule. So I mentioned that last week. This is, I think 9 pages long. This is the fee schedule I was referring to. I just went ahead and printed a copy because I think some of you weren't sure exactly what I was talking about. This is within our ordinances there. And so basically, RJ needs to be working with Penny on her section. Sean, if you can talk with Cody on anything that pertains to streets. If we can kind of be talking with Paul on anything that pertains to the office. I just want to be able to do, I know he was talking about some fees a while back in regards to the cemeteries and the burials. I want to be able to do a modification in one full swoop, and I want to be able to do that in March. So I have it in front of you now. Like I said, it's 9 pages. I encourage you to go through and just kind of compare to other towns and kind of help us comb through it, because there's some things in there that, to be honest, I think they've been in there for years that nobody's really ever looking at. So is it a fee we need to keep charging? One of the things I would keep in mind is there something, was there fees that we can lower that possibly encourages things to be happening in town and develop in town? Are there fees that we need to raise to discourage or to keep us, make sure we're charging enough to cover our overhead and our manpower to actually do what the fee is charging? I think that's one of the things that Paul was bringing up with the cemeteries and things like that. When we have burials on the weekends, we're paying those guys overtime. They come in on Saturdays. Are we charging enough to make sure that we are not coming out negative every time we do that? So like I said, it's 9 pages long. If anybody looked at this before tonight's meeting and wants to discuss anything, it's on the agenda so we can. But essentially, like I said, I want to have this all amended and have it to the attorney to be able to vote on amending all things that we want to amend in March. So I wanted to start getting in front of you guys and know exactly what kind of homework we're talking about on researching from other towns.
Great.
As a suggestion for the future, whenever we're getting a big handout, and rather than give it to us before the meeting, if you can make sure Paul has it, to transmit it to us, so we have at least 48 hours before the meeting. It gives us more time to develop questions and ask things.
Yeah.
And that goes for anybody. It isn't just.
Yep, not a problem. To be honest, if it's posted on the website, so I didn't even think to attach it as a thing. I showed up tonight and was like, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and print it so you guys can look at it? Because I think when I referenced it last week, and some of you may even not know how to find that on the website. So for a simpler process, that's why I went ahead and printed it last minute tonight, but so we can start talking about that. Like I said, that's another thing I would like to leave kind of running on the agenda to keep us accountable to getting that done, but so that when we are ready, we can pull the trigger and not have to delay because we didn't put it on the agenda. I think there's a permit pricing on there, and was that one Cody? What is the?
I think Paul was the one who was talking about raising that fee.
Yeah, so I think is that the right-of-way permit?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk recently with our right-of-way permits and had some issues with different things happening in town. I did not receive that information to be able to give you guys the lowdown on that. So since they're not here tonight, we'll carry that over, and that is obviously one of the things that we need to discuss. Penny, did you have anything in particular you want to discuss tonight on the fee schedule?
No, but we water and sewer rates, I think, are in a separate ordinance. They're not in that fee schedule. Is that correct?
No, it is, we have an ordinance that says that the water and sewer rates change May first, but we do have a 5-year spread posted in this fee schedule.
Okay.
That is one of the things we were kind of researching and looking at and want to make sure. A lot of the other towns don't do 5 years at a time. That way they're not posting a rate, and then if inflation jumps up, especially with as crazy as things have been the last few years, we don't have to get caught in a predicament where we're out of whack.
Yeah, well, prior to those being the 5 years that was set by the EPA. But prior to that, there were times where rates weren't raised for numerous years at a
Yeah.
time, and I think that's why they did that.
Yeah.
As that, to make sure that there was a rate increase each year to keep up with things.
Yeah.
I don't have anything particular to that. As far as the right of way permit, I still think that we need a separate sewer permit for just putting in, you know, for somebody who's putting in a sewer as opposed to somebody who's doing work throughout the entire town, which is what that right of way permit was initially set up for when Clearwood came through.
Okay.
So I still think we need to look at having a much more, simple form for somebody who's coming in to replace the sewer at your house, for instance. Yes, they're gonna be in the right of way. Yes, we need to have some of those same things as far as insurance, but a lot less to fill out than what a sewer contractor would need to fill out a however many page form that is. That a lot of that information isn't being filled out because it's not pertinent to the person who's doing that type of work. So there are, I have 3 different ones from other communities that are much more specific to just sewer excavation, and I think we should look into that as well.
Okay.
Even if the fee is the same, that our this $100 fee, which I think is pretty common in some communities, some people don't charge for it at all, which is still fine if we don't want to charge for it, but we still have the documentation saying so and so's here, they're doing work in our right of way, and we have that insurance on file.
Okay,
Since you're familiar with that, can you give us a couple examples of that?
No.
No?
Yes, I have them
Yeah,
all for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful because it save time. Thank you.
did anybody else have anything on the fee schedule that you want to discuss tonight? Like I said, I basically put it on there as a preliminary to get us started so that we can be working on it and we're not rushing last minute to get it done. Okay,
There's a lot of different ones.
yeah, there's a lot of different things that go into it, so, well, then that will bring us to the next one, which I think is also me, if you guys are okay with me.
Yeah.
Moving. Oh, no, never mind. There's another one before me.
Okay, did you are there,
That's me.
water and sewer?
All right, so to discuss approve engineering firm to move forward with the plans and specs for Herman Street water line. So TWM, they are doing the road project there. So that's kind of my recommendation to go with. But we could also use that other firm, the Gonzalez, who we use for the second opinion for that lift station that Hare and TWM are working on. So I mean, my recommendation is go with TWM because they're already doing the project, and I think that'd be our best bet, is to continue with them. But what do you guys?
I need a little more background on the whole deal. We're putting in a new water line or replacing an old one.
Yeah, so putting in a new water line, and then Penny had got us a grant for $100,000 off that. Yeah, so putting a new water line, and then also the streets getting redone there as well. Yeah, please, Penny, go ahead.
The street project is a grant as well, a partial grant that has been applied for some years prior. And what we've been trying to do is get the water lines out of the road before the new streets go in. We did that on McAllister Street. So we planned to do that, and then we didn't get the grant last year for Herman Street Water Line. The street project still wasn't ready to go, so, we reapplied. Got that, got the grant now, which is good, because the street project is supposed to go in the next year. And so we'd like to get that, and I think we talked about that approval coming last week, that we had the mayor, sent in, stuff from county that what we needed to get that grant, finalized and, be able to move forward with plans and specs. But in saying that, I don't want to assume that we were going with one engineer over another. To me, anytime that we have, same as on the Callister Street, DWM had done all the work for that. So rather than a different engineer come in and not be knowing the plans for the street, it seems like the best would be to have the same company working on it, so that if there's anything they're pointing about something, an elevation being wrong, a storm sewer crossing where you need a water service, that's all in the same plans and specs, and they should be able to coordinate amongst themselves to get that more correct.
Do we also have plans to televise? Or do we know the status of the sewer line, or is there a sewer line in this road as well?
Partially up the road, yes, there is sewer. Not the entire distance, and we would not be doing the water line the entire distance of the street project either, unless I want to come up with a bunch more money. Because the grant and whatever I had put in the budget will cover from McAllister to 4th Street, and a section on 4th Street that we've had lots of repairs on. And then if we want to go farther than that, that's all on the city's money. So until we get estimates back, not really sure how far we can go with that. Hopefully we can continue on up and get as much of it as we can on the road, but there is possibility that unless we put a lot more money in the budget towards it, that we wouldn't get the entire thing done all the way to 50, because it goes, the street project, I believe, goes all the way from the McAllister all the way up to the post office area. It's all the way through it.
When you say a lot more money, are we talking like 100? Are we talking like 500,000? Like, what do we mean by lots?
I'm going to guess that the 100,000 for the grant won't get us the part that we just talked about, 4th Street and a block on 4th Street. I don't know, it depends on the time that it's bid and how contractors bid it. I would hope that with that and the 100,000 that's in the budget, there might actually be 200,000 in the budget now, that we could get the entire thing, but I can't even guess what those amounts are, because it changes, by the time of the year, how busy the contractors are, really until it's a bid. I don't have any idea. We would get a bid for the part that we've already planned, and then there would be line item pricing.
For to do the whole thing?
And then if we could have a footage for the entire rest of that and have an idea once that bid comes in, but there's no way to,
Okay.
guesstimate. I did that off of, to put the money in the budget by what a prior year's project was from another community. But those are all guesstimates.
Yeah.
I would say a couple $100,000 more probably, if we were to have to add the rest of the project.
Okay, so that I'm able to report all what we're doing. Under Finance Committee, the credit card is still moving forward,
Correct.
so there will not be anything on the meeting for that the next week. The fee schedule, we're still working on that, so that will not be on the meeting for next week. The RO, the right-of-way permitting is still being discussed, so that won't be on the meeting for next. So we're not making any recommendations on those items. Water and sewer, do you want to approve TWM to move forward with the engineering on that?
I am, but talk about it for the next
Well, yeah, for next week, because we could settle it and have all the everything written up for next week, the resolution and all that.
Penny, is that the same size line or the bigger line?
In the sections, it will be larger. In sections, it will be the same.
There's not like any no particular problems with it, we're just doing it new because it's old now and we got the chance. to-
Well, we've had numerous repairs in the last two blocks, so the area that I put the grant in for is the area that had had the most repairs. 4th Street from Fritz to Herman has had, I could say probably 4 repairs on it in the last 10 years. And from 4th Street to McAllister, 3 to 4 on it as well in that section.
The water and sewer?
No,
Just
water
water
line.
line. Just water.
Water
So
line.
we don't know what it's a sewer underneath that road?
Yes,
How deep is it? You know?
probably 12-ish.
And you haven't had any problems with that sewer there?
12-ish to the northern section, I would say, and it's shallower on the lower end. The entire road does not have sewer running down it, but it's the biggest portion of it does.
How old is that sewer line there?
Long before me. I mean, I don't know, it's probably, if I had to guess, I would have guessed in the 50s, 40s, 50s.
And how long is they expect those to last, do you know?
There's sewer lines that are hundreds of years old, so.
And what's it made out of?
Like, there's
Ms. Penny, you say that you already secured the grant though, haven't you?
Yeah, the 100,000, yes.
So it has to be used for that purpose.
That's
right?
correct.
For the water line.
So we need
We've
to,
already approved that. I mean, that went through the council before some of you were even on here.
Right.
That be a project that we wanted to apply for. And we did, and we got that, so it's. Yes,
So-
that would need to be used for that purpose.
so what we want to move forward with is approving TWM to do the engineering plans and specs for the water line. And we can put that on next week's agenda if that's okay with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Penny, what steps would we have to take to make sure that we don't need to do something with the sewer line while we have this road up? Is that also TWM or do we need to have
TWM
somebody
will
else?
Make a recommendation. You can ask TWM
I
how
don't
they're
think,
doing that to make the recommendation.
I don't think TWM's doing that stuff.
No, TWM, their part of the project right now is to engineer street repair.
Mhm.
And if we were asking them to do this, it would be specifically for this, is just to engineer the water line. If we want to look at the sewer as well, then we would need to either hire someone to do that, or we can do it ourselves. Last time, because of it being, the street project, we tried to go over it. We did pay TWM to televise it. They did it with our department as well. We used our jetter, we jetted it, cleaned it for them, and they followed our line back. Which was a lot less expensive. There has been some issue, I think, with the report that was done, not being properly dated. But, the sewer line was televised. There was no issue found with the sewer at the time. Because in saying that, we could televise the sewer today, as we did just recently. And had it collapse within a month afterwards. So, that's. You can televise today and still have a collapse tomorrow. It's not like, that there's an area that's that visible, that's, if you see something that visible, yes, we need to repair it. Like in the situation that we're talking about, we had just televised a line on McAllister for Joe Kitstein for a house that he had there. We were looking for his sewer tap to see, because it's a very deep sewer. He obviously didn't want to dig 20 foot in the ground if he didn't have to. So I said, yes, there's sewer here. He dug, well, it ended up that that was not a live sewer. To his property, there was a tap there, but that ended up collapsing within a month or two of when we had televised it. So although there was no problem there.
Mm.
It still had collapsed because of the, whatever, for whatever reason it happened, it pushed into the main.
So do we have somebody that we usually have that would do the engineering and inspecting of the sewer line? But I know you said we can, or somebody else. Do we have somebody else that typically?
We have not hired
Okay.
ourselves, hired one. I think, we have had Ace do some work, through the mayor on the Telster Street. That could not be included with this engineering because of the grant.
Yeah.
So this plans and specs needs to be separate
Separate.
from anything with the sewer. But if that grant is specific, I mean, I can't even change the name by a word on there, or the grant doesn't exist.
What's the time frame on that?
That money is available, this year through, you remember, Mayor, what that date was? I want to say it's sometime in 27 that the money has to be utilized by, but.
So it has to be
I-
completed,
without looking at it.
completed by a certain date?
Yeah, it
When-
has a date.
When is that road project supposed to be?
I believe it is in 27.
Is when it's supposed to start?
I'm sorry,
When it's supposed to start
yeah,
in 27?
yeah,
Okay,
so we have time to,
Mhm.
so
yeah,
get this water line done. We just need to, the next step in working towards that is to do the plans and specs.
okay.
And then once plans and specs are done, then it will go out to bid. We'll know our price and we'll move forward with going through the county to get that approved. Some of that can be used for engineering. A lot of times what we've done in the past, is if there's money in engineering in the budget, we'll just pay for that out of the budget and then use the entire 100,000 to just put in the water line. But it's worked differently on a couple of different projects.
This time around, though, I don't know if we don't call it phasing or not, but if something gets done. You're gonna have that person sign off before the next portion can be done.
It would be wise, to have it, bigger projects set up in phases. So we can identify what part is being done as which phase of the project. That way,
The street project's been done in things, I didn't catch what you said.
yeah, I'm saying we should be looking at these bigger projects in phases. Rather than a holistic thing. We need we know it's a holistic thing. But if we could break it down to phases, sometimes we can get funds for different phases of a project. That can be pieced together, so we're not tying ourselves to 100% of the project or none of it.
It sounds like it is a phase.
Yeah,
It's not a real big project.
No, it's a
But
project.
a street project is a big project and it's a lot of money. The water line is something that wasn't tied to that project. They would, if we didn't look at it and say, hey, we'd like to get, we've had a lot of repairs in there. It would have never been looked at by them at all to review the water line or the sewer line or to televise the sewer. That's something that I was starting because I said, hey, before we start putting new streets over old infrastructure, let's look at it. So that's why it was even done on the Telesper to look at it before.
Mm.
Now, we overlaid, all the drives. None of those water and sewer lines were looked at before. We've already had one repair on the drives since that's been done. So. It just kind of makes sense to look at it and, yes, if we can, look at sewers and have money to, fix anything that's wrong with them, if anything's found, then yes, it's moving that direction too. It's one step, that street's going in 27, so. We gotta, move along with that as we can.
So we basically need to get an estimate of what it would be to check out the sewer lines.
Well, I mean, Vinny's capable of, able to
Yeah, that.
camera that and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, all your equipment's,
We can televise it, we do not have the equipment to, like, some of the cameras will tell you like how big a separation is.
right,
We can televise and look and see, yes, there's cracks. There's, a separation, we can't say it's a you know, there's a 30 percent separation of our camera doesn't do that. It's an, you know, it's an older camera.
Right.
So if we're going to inspect it to the point of wanting to know if somebody out there thinks that there's potential for damage, then I would suggest that we have it done by somebody who can make a report and say, you know, but I'm gonna tell you that because we talked to Ace when they were here on McAllister Street, and they say they will televise today, but that doesn't guarantee that something's not gonna happen in the next. You know, there's no guarantee that even though they're saying there's no problems, that something couldn't, because that's just the way. it's
Nature of the beast. Okay, well, thank you, Penny.
But I can get estimates on that. We also talked about getting some estimates on lining. Just to line it, same kind of thing. We talked with Ace when they were there about lining the McAllister. And asked them, you know, if we would have had this line, would it have kept the collapse from happening of that lateral? And they said lining wouldn't do that. Now, maybe somebody else would tell us differently. That was just one company. But I'm more familiar with Insituform. There's a larger company, that does lining. They're one of the first ones to do it. We had, excuse me, a couple lines lined in my time here, one on Harmon Drive, one on St. Joseph. There was also a line that was lined on Bridge Street. That was, I believe, in the mid-80s. In front of Help for Mom, but then he was seen, and that was lined. I'm not, was it clear at that time, but you know, it was done. So you can get a couple different companies that give us some prices on what that would cost, and we have an idea for the upcoming budget.
Okay,
That'd be great.
we need to move on because we're beginning to get off the topic. Because we're talking about places other than the Herman Street water line, which is what's on the agenda.
Right, I thought though, like in community meetings, like when we were
We
discussing
can,
like
but-
water and sewer
but,
stuff,
yeah,
kind of talk
can.
about the whole range of water and sewer, right?
But we have to be careful of it, especially we're talking about, while we're making a recommendation. So that is limited only to the Herman Street project. If you wanna do other things, we can talk forever on some topics.
Sure. Yeah, no, I thought we've already cleared up the fact that we're gonna go with TWM to
We are,
approve engineering, okay. Yeah, and the other thing I had, just real quick was, Hair Plumbing and TWM have got in contact with each other about the Hunter Street, project, so they are working things out. So we'll hopefully hear more here in the very near future on,
that's good.
what we got going there, so. Other than that, Penny, you got anything else, or,
I do not.
okay, that's
Hey,
it for water and sewer.
thank you, EJ,
RJ.
RJ. I'll get it straight one of these years before I retire.
I don't think you will.
In fairness, they took away the plaque.
We've had TJ, I've had a TJ and RJ and CJ, so that's why it's confusing. So, moving along. Personnel, do you have anything, Mr. Bennett?
Those.
Nothing, okay. Health and safety is not here. Well, we have an item on here for ambulance headquarters. Anybody else have information on that?
I think that's, I'm gonna just, if it's okay with you, I think that intertwines with the discussion for the future of 103 West Randall. I don't know what ambulance headquarters, I didn't even see that was on the agenda like that. So if you're okay, I'll go ahead and go into that. I think it's the same thing, or you can
Probably
skip down.
is.
Okay. Okay, Mayor Charlie, or actually, do you mind hitting that light switch right there by you? Thank you, Kevin. All right, let me pull this up here. I'm gonna apologize because this is not as clear as I would like it to be. But you guys will at least be able to see what we're talking about here, and then if you guys want me to, I can print it next meeting so it's a little more clear. So essentially, we have the building at 103 West Randall Street. This is the building that used to house our street department. And there was major neglect over the years of not having proper maintenance. There's major electrical issues. And so we had to move our street department out of this building into the old city hall. So it's been sitting, basically not being utilized since that happened I think last year, maybe even longer ago.
About 3 years.
Okay, so currently we only use it for a little bit of storage. There are a few things stored there, but there's not any like day-to-day activity except for the bathroom is used as one of our testing areas for water and sewer. I would like to propose that we look at making this a future home of our ambulance services, plus continuing to use the unused portion for city storage. I would like to convert, basically, it's gonna go to here. That area would be, an over would be for the ambulance service, and then the rest of it would be used for storage. There is a carport on the right side of it. If you saw that in that picture, over on the side, there's a carport there. That would still remain. I just didn't do it in my mock-up for simplicity on my software that I have.
Hey, Jess?
Yeah.
You might mention that there was an inspection done on that building, just like on City Hall and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, so we have had an inspection done. Again, like we know there's electrical issues, there's some other issues and things like that. Sewer line we believe is good and things like that, which we'll get into. My thoughts on doing this is that our ambulance needs to be addressed sooner than later, because they are still up in the same building that we pulled our employees out of. The putting them into wherever City Hall may be is going to be a much larger project, because when you have an ambulance that has to be able to pull inside and you have offices, you're worrying about firewalls, your HVAC's not supposed to share because of the exhaust of the vehicle running and things like that. So the magnitude of the project of putting them into a city hall or a municipality building is much larger, whereas this building and this property we already own, we don't owe anything on it. And I think we could get them in here. I will share with you, I've had 3 contractors that have not been in it. They have not seen the plans, but I kind of just walked them through the scope of what I was thinking and said, can you give me like realistically, like, am I thinking this is a much smaller project? And they've said yes. They think it would be a much smaller project, and think that it's something that we would be able to get done for less than a couple $100,000 and it would be said and done with. So I'll get into more of that. So basically, this is what I'm proposing. This is kind of a comparison here. So you can see section A would be the MedStar resting quarters that we have to provide where they can rest and have their bathroom and their kitchen area. Section B, as you can see, I have the roof coming out a little bit. It's coming out about 4 or 5 feet. I will get into that in a minute. And then section C would be our storage, and we can kind of talk about what we're going to do with that space. You can see here in this comparison, basically where we have a garage door, I'm recommending we put a man door and windows. And then over there, it would basically, the holes that are already in the building, for simplicity, we're utilizing those same holes as much as we can. So in section A right now, overall, the building has issues. We know that. This is a picture of what the old break room area. As you can see here, the exhaust for the attic is a box fan that has a cord that had an extension cord connecting to it that then ran across the room to an outlet that was not wired properly, and that's how we were exhausting it. So, issues. So there's a lot of rumors of like, I don't know why they pulled the employees out of there. There wasn't electrical issues, things like that. There was. So I saw how clear that was when I went into it. In this section right here, this door is to the bathroom. So there's already a bathroom there, which already has a shower, a toilet, and a sink. The fixtures need updated. It is kind of dated and gross. But the plumbing and stuff is good, and the hard part is essentially already there. We wouldn't have it to jackhammer up any concrete. That part's done. The bones are good. There is a loft that comes down that we would need to remove. That's just simply removing it, and then we would be able to build everything out. And I'll show you exactly how we would lay that out in a minute. And then in this section right here, I'm proposing that we do their small kitchenette there. So where the water comes in, it would be on the back side of the bathroom water lines, leaving everything nice and close, saving us money. Section B is the ambulance bay, so that goes right out that door from where the resting quarters would be. It is simply just an open space. This is the biggest thing that I'm proposing on this, is I am proposing that we do an extension and hip it out. I think it's called hip, is that right?
Mhm.
Hip it out a little bit. And the reason being is when I met with MedStar, a couple of us met with them and kind of just asked them if this was even a possibility, if they can get out on the road okay, if this is a good location for them, how they felt about it, and got their insight of what they needed in their resting quarters, what's required of us, that kind of thing. So we went ahead and had MedStar out. They looked at it. They were in support of it. There was a lot of things they really liked about it. One of the things that we discussed though is that with the building the way it sits currently, they could pull an ambulance in at an angle. So it would not be an easy parking job. It is doable. However, our goal is for Lebanon to grow. And if Lebanon continues to grow, there's going to be a point when we get to where they potentially need to always have a second truck here. They also would like to be able to leave a second truck here now for certain circumstances and certain time periods and things like that. So when one truck is going to the hospital, there's another one available to service Lebanon and surrounding area. So I would like to be able to go ahead and build it out so this building can service them for many years to come, to be able to house 2 trucks, which would mean that we need to do the addition so that they don't have to go in at an angle. It's not very big. They did look at the parking lot area. Some people had concerns it's small. They said that it's big enough they can get out. They weren't concerned with that at all. So we can come out the 4 feet that we need to be able to house that. Also in the ambulance area, they would like to have a sink out there that has like the eye washing station and things like that they need to have. Also it would have hot and cold water out there so that they can, when they're rinsing out the trucks and cleaning the trucks, they can have hot water to be able to clean. And that sink would be able to continue to be utilized by Penny and her team to test the water if they wanted to keep this as their site. I believe that's their EPA. Is that okay? Section C is one of the things that why we have it on committee to discuss further. We have options with this. So we can either make it just storage and just say, right now, we don't know the money situation we're in. So let's just frame it out to where it can be built in the future. But right now, let's just leave it to where it's storage. We don't want to do any more than we have to do right now, but we can do it in the future if we want to. We can also look at making it an office for the street department. The concerns that I have with that is if it is going to be offices or it was suggested that we make it a training room. My concerns is that they're going to need a bathroom, and jackhammering concrete from corner to corner would be extremely expensive, and it would be a lot of work to get us a bathroom over there. So I don't really know long-term if that's really a great solution, and it might end up being a waste of money. But I'm open to any other ideas on that. And that's one of the things I need us to discuss once I'm done with the presentation here. This is the floor plan I have proposed. So as you can see, our kitchenette, our bathroom, this is where everything already is. The sink I have shifting over just a little bit, but that's not a huge project. We would have 2 resting areas that meet the requirements that MedStar needs. They don't have closets. They're not considered bedrooms. So they also don't have to have windows. They're just a resting area because they are on duty. And then this area would be left as a living room and things like that. And then this would be able to be storage and have their cabinets and things that they need to be able to go here. This would also allow them to have a man door so that if they have visitors or people need to stop by with questions and things like that, they have a door that can be accessed without having access to the trucks. All of that is pretty simple. One of the things that was questioned, I'm not proposing that we furnish this. I'm not proposing that we give them the star and the moon and everything else. I am simply suggesting that we build it out, and MedStar is aware of that, and they have already agreed that once we have an idea of the total costs, they would like to meet with us to see if they can help pitch in towards the cost, but they also are already aware that they would be required to furnish it. And so we would not be responsible for putting anything other than just the walls. We would be doing everything as simple as possible, and they would be a tenant from that point on. So essentially, this is kind of what we would expect in the next process. So step 1 is to answer the questions that I'm going to have on the next slide. I need us to be able to talk through, and hopefully the goal is to be able to do that tonight. If we're able to do that, on Monday, then we would seek for approval for us to go and contact engineering to start putting the formal plans together. And the reason being is we can't get costs or really know what we're talking about or the scope of it or go for grants until we have that. And then so once we would have the engineer done on it, then we would explore grant options. We would talk to MedStar. There also is the roof grant that you guys remember. We got it for the police station. It transferred to City Hall. That grant is for up to $25,000. We have been talking to them and do believe that we would have the option to transfer it to that building, but we have to have our plans and have to know what our intentions are with it before we'd be able to get official approval. And then step 4, obviously, once we would have all that full scope, we would come back to council and we would be asking for you guys to approve for us to go forward with the project. I am really looking at trying to explore putting this into next year's budget because I don't think our total out of pocket is going to be too crazy expensive considering the grant we have in MedStar and how small of a project this is going to be in the full scope of things. I also, like I said, we need to get MedStar out of there and start looking at this. And so I think that we can move rather quickly if we do our due diligence and do it right. But obviously you guys are going to have multiple points for us to be able to address that. And as we look at next year's budget. So these are the questions on what we need to discuss tonight. So first off, I need to know if there's any feedback or concerns on section A on what we have proposed after I met with MedStar. And then section, number 2 is agreeing to do the addition on section B to be able to accommodate the 2 ambulances, or if you guys just want to say, no, we want to do it as cheap and simple as possible, they can go diagonal and we know that that's a short-term solution. I would like to add that that is a roof grant. So one of the reasons I was proposing that we do it now is because when we redo that roof, because it does need a new roof, it would make sense to redo it with the addition already done. And then section 3, having a conversation of what we want to do with it, and then any other questions or concerns that you guys have. So that was kind of a quick run through of what I have put together. And so I will open it up to you guys to hit me with anything and everything you're thinking and help us address these questions. And if you guys need more time, that's fine. I just, like I said, time is of the essence, and I really want to make sure that we're trying to get this part. If we can get it done quickly, then we can move into the part of trying to find the funding and things like that. But unfortunately, we have to have engineering.
That was gonna be my first question. I know you're talking to a couple grants. Where else are we gonna get the money for the rest of it?
Great question.
Mhm.
Some of that's kind of why I want to know where we're at going into 2026 is because we can kind of structure things. We do have, I think if it comes in where I think it's gonna be, and we're talking about coming up with like $100,000, I think it's potentially something that we can even consider doing. But ultimately, we're in a position where we're going to have to either address the issues at City Hall and fix it and allow them to be able to stay there. Or we have to do something with them, and we need to know. So then it comes into the conversation of what are we doing with City Hall? Do we really want to put thousands of dollars into that building to leave them there? And so that's kind of why it's kind of in the situation of where like there's money that we can save and then there's money that we have to spend. This is slightly falling into the category of we're going to have to spend something to address this issue. It's just a matter of what.
How many trucks do they have up there at City Hall?
They have one.
This one?
Yeah.
Only room for one there too?
They can, now that we're moved out, we have told them that they could utilize another bay if they wanted to. Right now they don't have a second truck available, but there have been times when they've had a second one and they've tried to keep it in town. So it kind of varies based on what they have going on and that kind of thing.
Okay. I mean, it looks like you do your homework, and I think this is great, for the section C, I'm with you on, I think we just set it out, leave it as storage for now. I don't see why we would, what would it be to put another garage door to have like another bay? I mean, how many ambulances do they normally have, or is that somewhere where we could store the street sweeper or something? Or I don't even know if it fits in there, but is there I can't remember. Did you have a garage door on that as well?
I did. So basically the way I'm going to go back to this picture because I don't have it down to the inch. But so basically my thoughts were with section B, I wanted to give them 4 to 5 feet on the side here. So if they have a truck, they can swing the door open and be able to get out before that wall would be there. And then as you can see, there's a giant door here and then another one. So I was gonna put the man door in this space, but my thought was to do as big of a garage door as we can do after we accommodate the space that we know we need. So if we can get a 12-foot door in there, then great. The street sweeper won't go in there. I know like little things like right now, like the plows, so the attachments that go on the truck. We could potentially put that in there. We could potentially make it sign storage, like there's there's little things. Long-term wise, to be honest, I don't know a lot of things that we are really gonna need it, like hopefully we have a city hall and, we kind of start developing all of this to be more consolidated, but with that being said, this building's paid for,
Mhm.
and so it does leave it to where down the road, if the ambulance does need to expand, let's say we do grow and they say, hey, we actually need to be able to have 2 more resting quarters. We have that space on the building. So right now we can frame it as storage, but it allows us to be able to expand down the road.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry, the carport there, will that be taken down?
it would stay for
It would
now.
stay.
Yeah, and then they can,
Even the new construction part?
yeah, and they can utilize it as they need to for storage.
We can.
Yes, it would be the
Not-
city's.
It'd be the
Right.
city's, not the, okay.
Yep.
There's another garage there too.
Yeah, right here, you
Okay.
can kind of see the door of it. There is
Yes.
another garage that's closed into, because we actually looked at possibly like finishing that and seeing like what works best. Yeah, so there's some flexibility on what we could do with that space over time. Just right now, we know City Hall is the #1 issue, so like we have to deal with the ambulance, so I just wanna
Yeah,
address that and kind of leave us the potential to be able to grow and finally like decide what we want to do over, not feel rushed on that decision.
yeah. No, I think this is great.
First of all, I think that you got to quit doing such a great job. It's making us look bad.
Thank you.
So the roof grant, was that for the main building? And I believe that probably to the right was probably an addition at one time. Is it for both?
So right now, it is still for City Hall.
The rough
So-
grants for City Hall, so we're
Yes.
trying to transfer it
We're
over.
trying to transfer
Yeah,
it.
gotcha.
And it is up to $25,000, which I don't think it would cost us 25 to do that roof. So,
That's just repair.
yeah, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe at one point they had an estimate for this roof and I want to say it was between 10 and 12.
Well, that won't happen anymore.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, I don't know for sure. Penny, do you know if that other section, if it's shingled or if it's a metal roof on that carport part?
I believe it's shingles, well, we need to pull.
Okay, all right.
Would we continue with shingle or would we go metal?
Something we could look at as well.
Very small.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, like, I'll tell you guys, obviously I can do some basics. I always, when my husband and I do projects, I make things pretty. And he's the one that like, will be like, hey, if we shift this little thing, it can cost us money because he knows
Mhm.
the ins and outs of that kind of stuff. That is the conversation I would plan on having with the engineer. What can we do to make it most cost efficient? I know obviously if we have a hole here, putting something there makes more sense, like than jackhammering out concrete. But beyond that, it would be a conversation with the engineer of little things that we can do to be the most cost effective as we can, and we can look at a metal roof versus a shingled roof and the ins and outs of that and things like that.
Well, my recommendation would be to move forward with this, because putting money into the old city hall building is.
Not an option.
It's
We're
just
knocking it
crazy,
down.
in my opinion, but,
Questions?
I mean, once you figure this out for bid, I don't think it's gonna be a small amount, but it's something that's gonna be necessary for the future of Lebanon. It's gotta get done again. There's a lot of things that we have to do, just have to figure out where to get the money for it. So you're saying you could possibly get grants for that as well, or no?
Yes,
Once we have plans, we could proceed to try to.
yes, then we can, I know, I've asked Stephanie to already do some research on like what grants are available and she's kind of been looking into that. The biggest thing, we have to have plans, but then the other caveat to that is some of these grants, like, okay, then if we can get a $50,000 grant, but we have to wait 2 years.
Mhm.
It's kind of weighing the ins and outs of that, but until we really have plans, it's hard for us to know what's available and what things we can really even look at.
Mhm.
Jeff, is there a deadline on that $25,000 grant, or do you know?
Um,
Cause it's been transferred a couple times, right?
I would say they probably need to know sooner than later, like,
Yeah, because it has to go back through the entire process, like the last time to get it transferred from the police station to City Hall was about a year. So it could take about a year for,
And that was a county grant,
that's a state grant.
a state grant.
Yeah. yeah, so it's sooner than later, cause we don't wanna lose it if we can transfer it.
Like if you guys are all good with this, we could tell them to start the process, to start transferring it, and then get the plan accepted.
Yeah,
I would say that we can't make a hard decision tonight, but I think our recommendation would be to start moving money.
Well, that $25,000 grant is for the roof for City Hall. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So you might as well start to proceed on that because that money. Even if we don't do this whole extensive thing, we still have a roof that's.
We'll have something going, we'll be moving. And any improvements that I believe will make it worth
Exactly.
of higher value to the city to dispose of, but I think, my recommendation would be to begin moving on transferring the funding around and getting the plans laid out so that we can go, start moving towards, even some engineering.
Okay, you got a good plan.
Yeah.
It's a really good plan.
Thought out, it's well thought out plan. And since you got the ambulance people in early enough. We were talking to them, which is one of the problems we've had in the past with contract.
yes,
I think, that's good, and the layout will work, there's gonna be a few inches here and there. But I can see where that layout would work. Plus, that's another front door to the city.
Mhm.
They can be painted, looking nice right there
Mhm.
on Route 4. And it's showing that the city is doing things.
Mhm.
and I will sorry, one of the things that MedStar said is like that location, so they can go left and they can get out on Route 4. They can go right and take Randall and head into that part of town, or they can go, sorry, right or left to go on Route 4, but they either head out to the Knolls, head up to the stoplight, or they can take Randall and go into the town that, so it's really, they
Good
said that
location.
the location really worked well for them, to a certain extent, so they were happy about it. I will tell you guys, I got a phone call last Monday. The garage door is broken at City Hall that they were using as their bay. And so they actually ended up taking care of fixing it so that they could continue utilizing it. But the door is bent and it's going to have problems again. So, and I told Cody when we were talking about it, I don't wanna put a brand new garage door. Those doors are huge. They're not gonna be cheap. I don't wanna put a new door in. So I actually called him and I said, if we can get it down, I need you to move the rest of the stuff out of the way because we're gonna have to just bump them over because I don't wanna put a new garage door on it if it would be a waste. So, that's time of the essence because of the situation up there as well.
I don't know if this is a big deal or not. Would we have to pave that, because that's rock now, right? I mean, would they require us to have that paved for like keeping dust down and keeping their equipment paving it?
Asphalting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at the cost of it and everything. They did not mention requiring paving it. One thing that I would recommend is at a minimum that we do like a 4-foot apron off the front of the building, so at least you have one tire pull. So you're not tracking in as much rock and everything.
You have to do
On the
that
cover.
anyway. You have
Yeah.
to do that anyway, because when you butt that out, you have to pour concrete. Because you're bringing out roof out, your roof line's
Yeah.
coming out, so you're gonna pour it. It's not gonna be that expensive to add more.
Yeah. But as far as the whole parking lot, I don't know, and that's something we can get numbers on it and evaluate if it's something we wanna do or not.
Okay.
We have to look also at future use of the remaining shed. Because what's going in there may determine whether or not asphalt or whatever is an appropriate cover, because it could be too heavy for it. And we don't wanna put anything in that's too light, but we don't wanna over work it. And I think the ambulance company will appreciate not pulling out any gravel.
I will say that's part of the reason why I was kind of hesitant to pave the whole thing from the get-go is just because until we know what we're doing with the future of it. I would hate to put in a parking lot and then have to, let's say we need to do an addition on it or fix something on it and then we're digging it up or whatever. Just the ins and outs of all of it. That's part of where I'm saying, like, we can go minimal to get it done and then just know that it's something that we can continue rehabbing and doing things with.
Right into the final phase.
So Jess, on that report, in the report, that building's it's structurally sound, correct? Or the bones are pretty good?
Yes, yeah, I didn't see anything, I will read through it again and everything, and then obviously if we have an engineer come out, they're gonna look at it too. To make sure that it can handle the weight of the hipping that out and everything. But the bones of the concrete block and everything, I mean, there's not, it's mostly electrical and inside issues. That are all gonna have to go anyways.
Great, yeah, thank you.
So I just wanna confirm. So we're okay with section A with this layout. We're okay with doing the addition for section B and considering that so that we can accommodate multiple trucks.
Mm,
And then section C, we just wanna look at keeping it framed for future finish, but right now just doing what we need to do and then having that further conversation down the road.
We could rent C to a college student.
I know, that's what, and then it could pay for it, like my business mind tries to do that with things, this government thing.
People in there.
Yeah. Is there any other questions, concerns that I can address for you guys?
No, you did a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. A lot of work there. Uh. Just, it looks like, we have no new business now and taking care of that. And we have no unfinished business, usually, or other business. Therefore, I think is,
What, is it, the item on here about City Hall future, is that wrapped up in that, or?
I don't know. is
Do you have
that-
any kind of update or anything new?
No, we're not sure what we're gonna do. We've looked at a couple of properties and decided, and it's way in infancy.
All right, so we'll make sure. All right.
You haven't looked at, in other words, the future right now is a very big.
No. There are options out there when you buy land, or do you, I mean, everybody knows it, do you buy land? Do you tear down the existing city hall where we came from and rebuild there? Do you find another building that's suitable? Like this one, maybe one bigger, so we have room for the police department and things also, so. All kinds of options out there.
There are options of decisions and they all have their own price tag. Been through this.
And like Paul was saying, we all say it's, where's the money coming from? 10% of everything he sells is Dr. J.
Yeah. Wow, I'm getting. Sometimes nights.
That can be some more income for the city.
If there isn't a business,
Pertaining to the Randall building. How much property do we have off the back of that building?
Good question.
Not much. Like, I think I wanna say it's like a foot, but I can look to be sure. I obviously haven't staked that, but like the parcel map does not show that it comes out into that. I think we have some things parked there now. I believe they're parked on the gentleman's property that owns that parking lot.
I think those are his.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was only asking because we were talking about water and sewer, the other end, the water and sewer comes in the back of that building. So there's potential to, if we had enough space there to run that outside of the building, if we needed water and sewer for the other building.
Yeah, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think when I looked at it, because one of the things that we were looking at, was like, can the ambulance pull through? I also looked at, could I make the door come in from the alley instead of it trying to avoid the addition part? We were trying to make the door come in from the alley, and I think that when we were looking at the property lines, I want to say it's real tight there, but I can verify
I
that.
thought it was very close as well.
Yeah.
Like a foot or two. So that's my recollection, because I know the water meter sits like on the building.
Yes.
Like right up against the back.
Yeah,
okay, the third one, if there is no other business, then we are adjourned.
Okay. Yeah.